I'm live. Welcome, wildflowers. This is a step back. It's a step forward in that I'm closer to you again. But in a certain respect, I don't want to be. I mean that literally and figuratively. My inspiration, my gift, my ability to channel, my love, my calling rests deeper than the space that I've been holding here. In a real way, I've been compromising myself more than I can afford to in order to reach something that feels sort of normal. And in that, I've uncovered a level of myself that has been a little bit too willing to compromise my truth in effort to reach people. And as soon as I name that, it's like, of course, that's not where I want to be. But until I saw it, I think I just unconsciously followed it through. So I need to be sitting on the floor. I cannot keep staring at the computer as much as I do. My eyes are exhausted, not doing well. And moreover, I am far more effective when I'm rooted. So that's what I'm going to do, despite the fact that it doesn't look very good. Now, it doesn't look good because I haven't been able to figure out how to get the camera to work. But that is something we can overcome in time. Right now, I'd like to express my gratitude for those of you who have stuck with this. We're moving through an incredible transition. And those of you who stay, despite the audio difficulties, despite the energetic transition that is confusing and it's wild waves we've been in. But the thing is, we've been in wild waves in the world. And today we're going to talk about it. I invite you to sit or walk. In between, do yoga. But the challenge, and please don't feel guilty if this doesn't fit. I understand it doesn't always fit. But the challenge I'm going to invite you to move towards is root. You could do rooted yoga. But in rooted yoga, your root chakra is, we're trying to stay connected to the ground. We're trying to stay connected to our shared roots in the earth. If you could do that, you shift the energy for everybody because we're sharing something here. For years, I offered readings during this time. I did a 2-hour live, and the second half was readings that I would do based on just comments in the chat. So I could sense your spirit through that inspiration alone, just a chat, and know so much about you. I could tune into your presence. I could read chakras. I could ask your higher self what's most important to share. And in many ways, that was the foundation of this community. We've progressed to the point where we now have a membership space, the sanctuary, which you can join through the website, linked in the description below this video. For the second hour now, we share a meditation in a Google Meet. And so we see each other. We begin with the meditation, and then I offer readings there. But it's more intimate, and there can be an interplay that is, I believe, far more valuable. The skills that I use to do this are currently rather extraordinary in relation to what many do. But ultimately, this is going to be rudimentary. We are tuning in to potential within the human spirit, within the embodied spirit that will transcend everything we've known as normal. And telepathic, energetic, long distance connections will be viewed as more than commonplace. We will develop layer upon layer of culture, potential, inspiration, magnetism, transformational presence, all based on our ability to do this consciously, intentionally, and in community. And we've already begun to do this here. So make no mistake, you might think of it as Daniel has this extreme talent, but you do too. You don't know how to develop it yet, but I'm inviting you into a space. This is how it begins. We already share a presence. I can feel the tone of our shared presence. If you can hold space as an anchor, root in the energy, you're making this better for all of us. So with that deeper invitation, be present. If you keep your root here and then explore what you could do while staying rooted, there's a lot you could do. And within that restriction, there's something beautiful that happens. So please consider and join the sanctuary and talk more about how you could do this more intentionally. Next. Today I'm crossing a boundary. I'm crossing a boundary I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed keeping this boundary. I'd like you all to try out a little thought experiment here. In about a minute, I'm going to give you a little bit of silence to consider something. If you learned, when you learn, imagine that you learn how to talk to Gaian angels. So that the spiritual beings who've been here for thousands of years, they're deeply concerned with humanity and the evolution of the earth and our interplay, the way humans evolve as an extension of the earth. Now, first of all, you have to accept this. I'm telling you, many of you believe this already. Many of you believe this way before you do me. Some of you don't. There is a wide range of beings who are deeply committed to this planet, to humanity's evolution, and they remember well beyond the lifetimes we consider normal. If you suddenly learn to have conversation, like da 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 da, ba, 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 da 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 da, you ask a question, you hear an answer like that. What would you do? What would you want to learn about? Consider this. So that happened to me. And the quick version is that happened to me rather suddenly and for years. Any being I tried to talk to, I could talk to. And it was often distorted. So I still carried enough baggage that there was a lot of static on the lines. Like imagine you have a phone call and you hear another conversation at the same time. And it's even worse when it's your own karma getting in the way and you don't know how to tell the difference. So I dove as deep as I possibly could. I pushed really hard. I broke through in a way that I would not wish on anyone. It was really difficult, but I got through and I kept it. And then I started to learn. And I don't know about you. I don't know what your answer to that question was. But for me, I just started asking for explanations on everything. And, and what happens when you tune into the Gaian presence, what you're doing is you're tuning into the coherence of the world. And this coherence has multiple layers that you can learn to understand. But the base level is they're not competing with each other. So as different as many of these beings are, they have different responsibilities, different roles, different focus, different zones of influence, but they're all together. They're in harmony. They're not competing. The ways in which humans evolve stories in which there were wars between such beings are almost entirely bullshit. It was almost entirely done for our benefit because humanity in its early stages didn't have the capacity to understand what true harmony is. They made it into this sort of like blissful heaven with harps thing. They just didn't know how to conceive of radical differences coexisting because it always turns into war for humans. So in different communities that they are connected, they've always been connected to different deities, divine beings. You could, by any name, they're worshiping, they're connecting, but then they get in wars. Those beings don't really want us to be fighting, but they have always been very present with the actual limitations of human collective emotional intelligence. And so there was this process of war is almost like a cyclical purge. Believe me when I tell you that's not what they wanted. That was a necessary thing to move through to get to where we're about to be. Now I'm about to share some things that I'm already getting like all sorts of pushback from people who are trying to read me through some kind of bullshit radical paradigm. Understand, this is real simple. Do you believe I'm talking to Thoth or not? From there, you could create some kind of personal interpretation that maybe I'm right sometimes and I'm full of shit sometimes. I imagine plenty of you are doing that. I get it. It's probably what I would do in your position 15 years ago. When I tell you I'm able to get a clear connection with Thoth and he explains cultural, political issues to me with a lot of clarity, and I'm about to tell you some of those explanations, appreciate I have zero interest in dealing with your bullshit. You've got a political ideology that's fractured, meaning you're polarized and you've decided to dump your energy on other people, which is what most political divisions do. They enable two groups of people to dump their shit on each other. So the temptation when you start to learn about spirituality is to think you're above all that. Here's the problem. Cultural forces move through these dynamics. So at certain junctures, it's no longer equal. It is really time to dissolve polarity. And when you dissolve polarity, you don't both sides everything. I'm laying the groundwork for this. Over the course of human history, different eras of time have existed in which different priorities were dominant. So there were certain themes that were not addressed. As negative as they are, as unpreferable as they are for our ultimate evolution, for extended periods of time, it was normal for people to fight over leadership. It wasn't going to change. It wasn't, there was no capacity for 1,000, 2,000 years ago. There was no capacity to generate longevity, long-term human political dynamics that were absent of war. The simple version is war is the externalization of internal karma. So as long as mass numbers of people are not capable of facing their own karma, they inevitably externalize it and have to fight someone. Inevitably. And this is human his story. Now, it's called history because once the karma gets externalized, it's just so overwhelming. You're going crazy in your head. You're going crazy in your shame, your guilt, your pain, your memories. You cannot handle the emotional intensity of the truth of your karma. So you externalize it. Well, what did the world do? What did Gaia herself do through her divine guidance, Gaia dance? She pitted two communities against each other. And they bashed their externalized karma against each other. Now, we've talked about this. Let's take it a step further. She always chose who won. She always chose who won. It wasn't really up to them. She chose the cultures that won. She didn't always choose the individuals. It was left open for people to fight within these schemes and have a range of impacts. But she was choosing the conclusions of which cultures would dominate and which values would dominate and transition into a new era. And for extended periods of time, certain values were not prioritized. So stability in a certain form was measured by what external awareness knew was possible. They knew what was possible and what wasn't. And they know now what is possible and what isn't. And I'm telling you, the transition we're about to go through is going to finalize the real dream of a harmonious world where people are created in truth and fairness. And it sounds like, of course, everybody would want this. No, really. Humans as a whole are now capable of being held accountable for our full range of karma enough that there is no longer the need to have abusive power structures remain in play. Now, let's do this quickly. I don't want to do much more explaining, just so you know. When a lot of karma is externalized, somebody has to lead that karma. But the person who is the figurehead leading that karma has to be invested in the karma, or they won't be able to be present in the karma. So the leaders in such dynamics of externalized hateful karma are not great people. The simplest version is we tell stories on top of the truth that are largely full of shit. The people who win and create some degree of peace after their victory are typically written into his stories as if they were great. And the people who lose, the people who try to assert the same kind of power and fail, are written into the negative sides of these dynamics. So the losers are held accountable as if they're villains, they're ugly, they're awful. Now, if I were to tell you that there was a nation of 3 million people, a nation of 3 million people, and someone went in there to conquer them, they didn't have a reason, there wasn't a real antagonism that made sense. It was, pure border dispute stuff. They just wanted to conquer. They wanted to be victorious. They wanted slaves. They wanted to steal as much as they could. So they went into this nation of 3 million people. They murdered 1 million and they enslaved 1 million, leaving 3 million people down to 2, and only 1 million are nominally free. But if they ever spoke up, they'd be a slave like that. Most of the wealth was looted. Many of the cities were burned. And everyone who's left, their spirit was so completely broken that it took over 400 years for them to reclaim any sense of independence, largely after other people had conquered them. What would you say about a person who did that? Is that a great person? A person who went in there and murdered 1 million people and enslaved 1 million people? That's Julius Caesar. And he turned around and he went and he conquered the entire empire because he wanted to. He was Caesar. He seized. Because he won, there's a degree of his story that remembers him. I mean, it's certainly not everybody, but there's a huge force in my history books, in the history I was taught in school, that said this is an amazing man. That's what his story does. Is it takes these victors and it retains the stories they forced people to tell about them. For the next 400 years, Roman leadership was almost entirely accorded after wars. There were brief periods of peace. Notably, there was about 100 years where it was kind of peaceful, 5 emperors in a row. But other than that, it was almost entire brutality. And that 100-year stretch, the emperors were absolutely, to a T, just like Julius Caesar. They would go into other regions, murder swaths of people, enslave huge numbers of people on a scale that just boggles the imagination. So they retained their power through sheer and utter murderous thieving. Murder and theft on the biggest scale possible, imaginable. And yet their leaders are remembered with this degree of respect even to this day, thousands of years later. What we are looking at now is the end of that. Now. It didn't really end. It never really ended. The idea that somebody can seize leadership and because they're in power, they can convince the majority of the people under their control to support them just because they're in power. No other reason. They break the laws, they thieve, they steal, they rape, they support theft, murder, rape. They support it overtly. And then they defend the people who do it and make sure they don't get caught. It's happening right now. Smaller scale at the moment. Exact same force, no different. In the United States, no different. You think these characters who are locking up people who have darker skin than them wouldn't murder those people if they had the chance? They've already started. I don't know what the scale is. Don't anybody dare come near this community who wants to fight over the fact that this is utterly unacceptable. By the way, this goes with rape. So for those of you who haven't been present with the truth of these stories, they're stories, but they happened. Throughout all of human history, The permission to rape has been given to the victorious men. In many cases, it gets rewritten not to be called rape. So deeply ingrained that there's a pedagogy. And if you don't know about this word or the book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, I invite you to read it. The principle is people have to surrender to those who are dominant. If somebody has the power to kill you and that you know they'll get away with it, you certainly can't stop them from raping you or the people you love. I wonder how many people these characters dressed up with guns running around my country right now are raping. I assure you they are. When you know you can get away with anything and there's no accountability, terrible sides of human behavior come out. Right now, it's being unleashed on a greater order of magnitude than before. But the principle you need to appreciate is it's never really stopped. We've never really had the rule of law. Archangel Michael has not really been in charge yet. And now I ask you to feel your root. Because as we tap into the Kaiyan root system, we also open to the potential to tap into the crystalline consciousness through our crown. We are tuning to be like Christ. This is a person and this is a potential. He always said so. Just because people didn't listen and write it down right, doesn't matter. We all are called to be the second coming. And this overwhelms Messianic intentions or principles. No one's being called to go out and replace the stories that we got in the Bible, the Christian Bible, by the pieces we inherited. No, we're being invited to be the consciousness, the love, the integration, the coherence, the crystalline unity that transcends the need to dump our karma on anybody else and enables us to be present with an energy that can flow through us. Because we're not containing much negative karma, you don't have to be perfect, by the way. Because we're not containing much negative karma, it liberates us to allow energy to flow through and out. There are thresholds, measurable mathematical thresholds, where if a certain proportion of you is too dissonant to harmony, we can't afford to let you magnify. You know, you don't get the mic if you're completely full of shit. And so in this, it's time to fight for what you really believe. No one who rapes gets respect. No one. For the longest time, men who basically raped, even men who raped their wives, got respect because they were able to off-gas their dissonant energy and go back into their community. They looked coherent. And because they were able to institutionalize it, so that the upper, I don't even like upper, but it's perceived as upper, echelon of this completely beyond the law, as we're finding out. There's this huge arrangement of men who rape, undoubtedly have people murdered, and have for a very long time. And they're hiding behind the figurehead of the character in the White House at the moment, but they're all part of an ethos that says we're beyond the law. Everybody else should live within the law, but no, we're those might makes right guys. We're the ones that have so much power that we can tell people what to think. We'll buy the media. We don't like what they're saying, we'll buy more of the media. We'll tell them what to say. We'll tell them what not to say. It's always been like this, but it's important to respect, understand, and see honestly how it works. This is not about taking sides. This is about being truth. So when you integrate this awareness into how you perceive the world, you're able to see in shades of gray and then ultimately different colors. It doesn't mean everybody who poses these characters is the good. It means there are stratified priorities here. Rape, murder, and theft no longer acceptable on any level. But to appreciate how intense that is to accept they've always been going on. They've always been going on. Most of the characters in my nation that we remember as great people, not great people. It's very unpleasant to face it. And people feel like something's being taken away from them because something is being taken away from you. Something that's a lie. The founders of this nation were brutal people who had mass numbers of Native Americans executed because they were in the way. And believe me, many of them were raped and murdered with brutality. So when we applaud those who gave the orders to have that done, George Washington, where are we in our moral center? We're in a lie. It's always been a lie. Now, here's where it's like, wait, this is too much. We don't want to go here. We don't want to deal with the disintegration of this. You can't take away our George Washingtons. Look, it's so pleasant to think you're spiritually brave. You're at the edge. You're diving into conspiracy theories. You're outside the bounds of what other people believe. And then when it gets difficult, you're the one that knows where to draw the boundary, right? And this is where we circle back. Do you believe I'm talking to Thoth or not? Every time I do this, I can talk to him. I can tune in while I'm doing this to make sure. He says, keep going. I know full well what he's been teaching me for a very long time. It's time to end this. It's time to make a world where the boundaries are clear. No one is given permission to rape, murder, or steal. No one. Justice gets everybody who does that, and no rationalizations that accept it are acceptable, including backwards in history. So yeah, we have to uproot the lies, and it's not pleasant. It does feel like we're losing something because we are. We're losing our affinity with lies. Now let's continue, because I get a little sick of these. I don't want to have to keep explaining these. The very simple prayer is this. If you look out at the world right now and you start paying attention, you used to hide. Now you're going to start paying attention to what's going wrong. It doesn't take long. You get on the YouTube thread, the algorithm starts going, oh, they listen, they'll give you more. So it's not hard. You know whether you're distracting yourself consistently or facing truth. Now, is there an advantage of drowning in negative news all day? No. It's not your job to look at every negative truth and try to make up for all the people who are still hiding. There are proportions here. You stay open, you pray for truth, and when you see it, you hold this. I pray. May I attune with the service that is asked of me. May I know the limits clearly. May I take care of myself deeply, and may I respect the ways in which I am led to do work in the future. May I know the limits clearly. May I hold this service dear within me, and when I am inspired by this or this or this injustice to be active, I do not need to address them all. I need to address my service. I need to fix and work with the problem I am called to work on, and that may be enough. And yet when I see brutal men who undoubtedly are friends with people who murder, rip women and children out of cars and churches, you got to be able to say no. And if you develop a convoluted narrative that validates this behavior, you need to pray to Jesus. Because you have to be able to recognize when your mind takes you well beyond acceptable standards of coexistence. No, it is not okay to rip people out of cars or shoot them because they don't do exactly what you tell them to. Sometimes I tell my children not to do something and they do it anyway, and it pisses me off. It's the same dynamic. And mostly I conclude that I tell them what to do too much in an assertive way that creates a confrontation. This is a lack of imagination at best. There is no way we can accept the forces that are trying to take over right now. And it is crucial to appreciate there's no distinctive difference between them and every other general who tried to rise up and take over the Roman Empire. They just want power. And power is no longer going to win over love. May power surrender to love. May power surrender from our navel to our third eye, and may our third eye surrender to love. May the imagination of a world full of harmony dominate our thoughts. And as this dominance asserts itself in our conscious thinking. May the heart lead it with gratitude and compassion for all who suffer, and yet a clear and precise path into a future where we no longer accept narratives that are written after dominance is asserted. 20 years from now, it will be very easy for most of you to see this. Right now, it might be confusing. 20 years from now, it will be dominant in global culture. Is something written by power based in fear, or is something written by love? Power and love, fear and love, not opposites. The power of love can be significantly more powerful than anything we've seen. It's just that the world hasn't been ready for it yet to unify and take over permanently. Really, the karma in collective human society has not been ready to let love win. It would have forced everyone to face the truth on a shocking level that would have burst their spirit and made it impossible for them to evolve. It has taken time for people to learn through karma. And now enough work has been done that we're ready to make this transition, and it's shocking. And in case you haven't noticed, all sorts of forces are waking up. And it's critical to appreciate what's happening as all sorts of forces are waking up. The majority of people who accept the dominance of this current coterie that have a name at the head, but really it's a group. There's a subculture of America that's similar to the culture in charge of Russia and Israel and all sorts of other places on the earth where dominance and power based in fear are still superseding love. So these communities have taken over, and a lot of people let them and even support it because they're aware of something that happens in these contexts. As bad as these folks are, they are better than many of the forces they destroy. It's true. It's true. Feed a man endless supplies of young women they get to dump their pain into, and choose the one that's gonna, stop the worst, stop the most sadistic forces in society, stop the most chaotic forces in society. And what you get is some kind of sustainability, some kind. That's why it's been accepted for so long. And now it's time to end it. And to end it most effectively, you have to be willing to keep seeing it and turn it into a prayer. I have very high thresholds here, and I don't hold it. I don't carry it like a burden. I do exactly what I can in the moment. I transmute it. I do intense yoga. I make a prayer. I share it with you, and I move on and focus on the beauty and the love in my life. The beauty and the love in my life are stronger than the ways in which I address these themes. But in this context, you got to appreciate you must be willing to confront the terrors in the world because they may come to your door. And if they come to your door, you have to know how to be present. I do not pray this. I do not pray this for you. I pray that you are free from all violence, antagonism, threat of dominance, aggression, violation. I pray that everyone in your family is free of such forces. The question is, how will you be free of such forces? I have faced such forces repeatedly in person. I have no desire to do so again. And if I do, I will pray in the presence of the divine. What is the best way for me to be in this moment? Is there a way I can reach the soul of this human being and shift their intentions, calm them, transform them, defeat them, whatever is necessary, and as little as is necessary? If they have to be knocked out, they have to be knocked out. If they can look into my eyes and find tears that recognize someone who does believe they can change, may that happen even more. Because true victory is not some volatilely framed aggression. True victory is not kicking someone off a building or pouring gold over their head. True victory is the ability to stare in their eyes and convert them to love. Why is it that we have endless streams of stories about killing someone who's deservedly dying in deservedly intense ways that everyone can cheer for in a movie? And how many stories do we have of the intensity of presence that could stare a violent, malicious person in the eye and change them? I pray that if anyone within range of this prayer needs to confront injustice, violence, or aggression, that the divine is with you, that you know what to say, you know what to do, you know how to speak, you know where to move, you know how to be the future, the loving future that puts you in a presence that resonates love into the world. I once confronted a man who threatened to kill me. He almost did. Someone knocked him out. I felt sad looking down at a man who had to go to the hospital with a skull fracture. 2 weeks later, a man approached me with volatile intention. He passed out while he walked towards me. That same man, a week after that, came back from the hospital and we shared a hug. That was much deeper love. What are you praying for? If you feel free, if you are free, you'll shift everything that comes to you towards love, no matter what you do. And if you think love is naive, you are sorely mistaken. I pray that you trust love in every context you need to. I pray that in the face of fear, you remember to pray. I pray that in the face of your terrors, you remember to pray. I pray that in the most critical moments where your mind is disintegrating and you are bombarded by chaotic emotions, threats, scenarios of psychic reality that explode your intentions, your coherence, I pray that you remember to pray and remember to pray deeply with love in your heart. I pray that you know exactly how to move, exactly how to respond. I pray that you know exactly when to go towards a threat and how to do so in a way that is victorious with love, and when to step around it because that one, not for you. I pray that your gut instincts work so beautifully well that you can dance right through chaos, finding a coherent path of love that makes the world a little better. I pray that your very resonance makes the world a little better wherever you go. I pray that you magnetize to you the best sides of the people around you, so the same people who might start a fight in other situations find the best within themselves in your presence, even just in your proximity. I pray that you change so deeply you begin to resonate through the blood of your spirit in a way that changes every single person in your family, no matter where they are. I pray that the coherent beauty of your spirit begin to sing a song of hopeful joy that reaches everyone you've ever loved or even known. Wherever they are, whatever they do, they'll hear a little quiet song inside their heart that you made louder because you're living it. Do something hard that makes your heart rate go up. Oh, it's good to have something I'm not really capable of doing great yet. Two more. Oh. half half-assed to say the least. Ah, and my core is on fire, and it's easy to get this core energy up to my heart. I was trying to do one breath of rest in between those. Never been able to do that yet. Typically, I'm waiting 3 to 5 breaths by the end, but I want to up the challenge. I'm just starting to try that without the blocks. The blocks make it much easier. And now I feel my heart. So I'm going to tune in, invite you to tune in with your breath, reroot. There's a locking mechanism in your root. It's called a root lock. Gently tuck the tail down and sense your lower abs. Now you're locking to the ground. Make this your foundation. This is where you're resting your weight most. You should be. Get back off your ankles. Now lock. And notice when you lose this lock. You'll go unconscious and lose it. But when you lose your root lock, you're not tapped into the web of life as much. It's that simple. When I pray into the crystalline consciousness and I say, tell me what to say. I'm not being a leftist. I'm not being blue over red. I'm being real. It's time to end rape, murder, and theft as a systematized part of our reality. No matter what the people who rape, murder, and steal do, nothing excuses it anymore. Nothing condones it. Nothing makes space for it. May it end wherever it is. Wherever it is. Like a rippling tidal wave of wild flowing fire. May this fire seek out the source of lies that sustains this behavior and burn them wherever they are. And may whatever chaos is unleashed by undermining the temporary stabilities we have rested within, may that chaos be tempered and channeled by love, by individuals who are guided by love, by fierce individuals who are committed to achieving, to embodying, to transforming whatever intensities of love we have to. May all of us be free from fear, aggression, pain, whenever we can be. And whenever we must face these things, may we remember to pray to remain in coherence with the presence of the divine. Divine, the vine, the divine spiritual presence that keeps us woven. We tap into the root system through our root and the divine through our crown. It is this simple. And when we can integrate these forces in our heart, we are very stable as a presence of the crystalline consciousness. Now do you see why we've had some resistance to getting this message out? It's a tidal wave of love. And you can move through this with grace. Here's the simplicity. Don't accept any lies within yourself. Don't accept any lies. And let me assure you, almost every single person who's even close to this message, meaning everyone you're close to, meaning everyone you're close to in physical proximity and emotional spiritual connection, which includes everyone you've ever loved. I know very few individuals who could even come close to claiming that you don't retain any lies within yourself. To say that George Washington is a hero and overlook the fact that he ordered a man, Sullivan, to come and murder all the Native Americans that live in my area is a lie. The fact that he was doing other things that we can argue about whether they were good or not does not excuse the fact that this was a core part of his legacy. It needs to be. He did it. He personally signed the order to send a gang of men who wanted to keep fighting after the Revolutionary War to come here and murder entire communities of Native Americans. You really think these characters in ICE are all that different? They're not. I pray for everyone in Minneapolis. Every single human being in Minneapolis, may you be full of love. May you remember the presence of the divine. May you know how to pray on a level you've never been able to before. May you navigate through every step you take all day, knowing when it's time to confront, when it's time to step around. Please include a gut instinct of when it's time to step around. Reckless courage does not serve you. There's a time to go down for a fight, and there's a time to step around it so you can live to be present for another day. May every single human being in Minneapolis right now be touched by love, including the men who've been given guns without a moral center and without friends around them who we could ever come close to trusting, because in essence, you are still the ones who are inheriting Sullivan. Sullivan, this man who came to my community and murdered entire villages of indigenous peoples. It's the same force, and we have to end it. And to watch this within yourself, because we retain these stories that were written by the victors. This is no small statement. You might think you're above this spiritually. I went through my awakening when I was 25. First earth-shattering awakening. I spent a year ripped to shreds, learning yoga, ripped to shreds again, and ripped to shreds again. And then I went through another earth-shattering time when I was persistently suicidal. My mind was berserk chaotic. Every trauma in my past came to the surface at once. And for the next several years, I worked intensely with my karma. And once I started getting some success working with my own karma, meaning I started engaging reality, I stopped thinking that other people were at fault. Nobody was doing anything to me. I was in connections, I was in stories, I was in relationships because my karma put me there. And ultimately, I created my karma, so it wasn't anybody else's fault. A fault is a gap between you and someone else morally and spiritually. That fault is co-responsible. You stay on your side of the fault, you pay attention to what you're responsible for. If you're thinking about what somebody else did and thinking that that justifies what you did, you're lost in karma. This is the transition you must go through to retain your awakening. If you retain any lies in yourself that you cheated or you were brutal or you stole because they did something, boom, because they did something is never an excuse for anything. Nothing. It's one of the worst karmic failings possible because you've glued yourself to someone else's karma and somehow deluded yourself into thinking that absolves you. No spiritual awakening is retained if you maintain lies like that. And if you maintain lies like that, you essentially tap into the collective drama. And the collective drama is designed to shield, obscure karma for huge numbers of people. That's why many of you are trying to not be involved. Good on you. You've got the first step right. You sort of feel a little above the collective drama because you're supposed to not invest in it. You're supposed to not put your own karma into the collective drama. But once you know how to withdraw your karma and hold it, once you know how to wrestle with it, you look at your past, you stop blaming your ex, you stop hating your mother, you stop blaming anybody, then you get invited back into the world. And then you have to start facing some collective karma. And you know what happened for me? Native Americans and Black communities. I became intimately involved in both, and I shut my mouth. And I learned. And when I didn't shut my mouth, I got put in my place, harshly sometimes. It was good for me because I had to face the fact that my heritage was built on the backs of the bruised. And there were undercurrents, there were whole subcultures of people who saw an entire story than the one I had been taught to believe in. You got to do it. You can't think you're above it. If you're resting on something else, you're resting on a lie. You can twist it, turn it, paint it, obscure it, clothe it as much as you want in your thoughts or in thoughts you share with other people. All lies. All lies. You want to know how to find the truth? Oh, it's so simple. Truth, 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 truth. You just say that in the middle of any doubt. And you do it again tomorrow. You do this for a while, truth starts to win. Truth starts to win. If you notice yourself wrestling with a narrative, thinking you have to assert it again, thinking you need to get somebody else to listen to you, thinking you need to get somebody else to believe you, let me tell you, a YouTube channel, boom, boot camp for this. My first year or two, I argued with my I argued with the commenters on my site. No longer. You need to uproot every single lie within yourself. And when you do, all sorts of stuff can collapse around you. You'll feel a degree of relief. I take no pleasure in people's failure. I take no pleasure in people's loss. I would prefer to hug someone and draw them into a loving way than to beat them up when they threaten me. But I am perfectly willing to let someone fall if they will not stop inflicting violence on me or those I love. I'm perfectly willing to let someone fall if they will not stop inflicting violence to attempt to assert dominance that is based in amoral theft, murder, and rape. It's sad. I'd prefer their soul is reached by love. Their heart comes to life and they get to work helping to make a better world. That is my preference. And I refuse all inspiration, egoic validation, security that is based in being above anybody, better than anybody. You got to make these prayers and you got to make them again and you make them again, but you make them. It makes you into the kind of person that does not depend on any class structure. You know the word caste? It means a built-in stratified system where you were born into a level. You might not have known it, you might not have thought it, but you were born into a level in a hierarchical society. If you continue to take sustenance from that level, you are depending on people to be below you. You're depending on it whether you know it or not. If you find solace in the fact that your suffering is not as bad as someone else's, red flag, red flag. Really, you don't want to feel like you're a little bit better just because someone is below you in the class structure. You got to take a look at that. It's the origins of all racism. It's the origins of the way in which racism has been built into a class structure that keeps us all divided. You've heard these words. Understand what it means. Because we really can transcend it. And a wide range of people don't believe we can really transcend it. So you got to be a stand for a greater belief in crystalline consciousness. They mean the same thing. It's just such a bold prayer that a lot of people falter. We want to believe in harmony, right? It sounds good when we're safe. It sounds good when we got new age organ music going. But the truth is, you have to aim all the way into Christ consciousness in order to make it real. And the reason you have to go so deep into such an incredible prayer that may seem outlandish to everyone is all these colors have to be equal. You cannot believe that blue is better than red simply because it's a higher frequency. You cannot believe that yellow should have a diminished space and purple should have a bigger space. You have to uproot every way in which you're doing that. You are doing that. You just lack the awareness of the analogy. We are living in a world that has been broken, fractured into different hues. We need them all to make a rainbow. And more directly, you need them all to make crystalline consciousness. It's strict, relentless math. None of them are more important in frequency range. They're all exact. If you hide your garbage on any frequency, you got to face it. And if you do, all these cultural institutions can fall. Nothing will happen to you. You will feel a little liberated because you've been aware that abuse has been at the heart of the way these societies are run. Abuse. Individuals who fight very, very hard to be above the law, to be beyond justice, who buy the judges, who intimidate their critics, who kill some of the people who oppose them. This has been human history. It's time to end it. And so you do this first within you. And then you pray, what is the service you ask of me? This is the service that's asked of me. I have not wanted to be as direct, involved in the cultural dialogue. I don't know if any of you care to notice, but I get a lot more nasty MAGA critics who are convinced I'm just a radical leftist. And I find no solace there. The left in my country does not like me. They don't hold space for my spiritual depths. They don't hold space for my relationship with health. They're addicted to pharmaceuticals and mainstream medicine. They're addicted to the fear that these externalized responses to our internal problems is going to somehow win. They're addicted to the control that would force other people to fall into line. They mock me, they degrade me, they undermine me. I have no solace on either side of these political spectrums. I am not within this spectrum. And yet I will still say that a man has undoubtedly raped dozens of women, and girls may not remain in control of my country. That one should be easy. And I care because every community has a degree of coherence. Every community deserves the opportunity to thrive and be happy. I don't want any group of individuals in this world to suffer systemically. And yet there is a suffering inherent in karma. When we constantly, with incredible vigilance, face every ambiguity with a prayer, show me what is true to love. Show me what is true to the love of Christ consciousness. Show me what is true within myself. May love win. May love lead. May love end this aggression. May I know how to be a channel for love to change what is around me. May I know how to be in response to hatefulness within my family. May I know how to be the boundary that keeps my roots strong and my divine connection ever present in the face of anything that questions, doubts, threatens, intimidates, attacks, undermines, blasts with negative energy, whatever it may be. May I become stronger in my commitment to love. And may those who want this come closer. May those who want this sign up for sessions with me. I'm here to help you do this. I am here to help you do this. I can meet with you weekly, and I will. And we will dredge through what you need, and we will refocus on who you really are, because you are a divine being. You are this. You came here as this, and you came here with the mission to embody this. This is a new thing. You dove into this world with an ephemeral, dreamlike relationship to history. The secret truth is all lifetimes are not equal. Many have lived through many negative, painful lifetimes as an ephemeral dream with 10% of your relative presence. We are called to embody our divine self within a human body. And to do this, you must trust that you create the safety. You bring the karmic safety. Your love will attract others who can love you. You will be shown exactly the service, the challenge, the intensity you can bear and continue to transform while retaining a divine and loving presence in this world. And to trust this is to make it. You got to make it. You got to watch for the ways in which you're scared, understandably scared. But do you lose yourself? Do you want to throw yourself at the feet of another, me, to save you? Don't work. On this level, in this depth, you got to remember to hold your center. Someone's freaking out, drowning. If I swim up to them, they'll pull me under. The power of fear under such circumstances to take over the body is very intense. If a lifeguard swims up to a drowning person under the wrong state of chaos, they will try to climb on top of that very adept swimmer and they can kill both people. Spiritually, it's worse. You can reach me wherever I am. If I'm not careful, you'll take me under. I teach with a degree of fierceness. It's not a classic tough love. In some ways, it's harder. In a lot of ways, it's kinder. I teach with the presence that says, I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe will work for you. You do it. Do it. Memorize the key ring. Memorize the connections between the chakras and their themes, and memorize the basic standing flower. Memorize it so you can do it wherever you are. Anybody who's listening to this, you don't know what I'm talking about, ask questions and do it. If the internet were to fail tomorrow, this is the most important thing I could give you. Memorize the key ring, memorize the associations with the chakras, and memorize the standing flower, the yogic pattern that amplifies and balances each of these chakras. This will keep you alive. This has kept me alive repeatedly. Before I have faced the worst and most terrifying moments in my life, I meditated. And once I learned to meditate with this key ring, I could dissolve the most incredible terrors, the most excruciating pain. 2 nights ago, I woke up and my esophagus was like being ripped to shreds. I kicked it out with the help of the key ring. And it didn't take long. If I had one thing I could do with you, and then the internet were to fail, and I would never get to connect with you again, I would want you to memorize the key ring, memorize the associations with the chakras, all available on the website, and memorize the standing flower. It's less than 20 minutes. It's a video on this channel. Memorize it. Come on. You're an adult. Have you stopped learning? Have you stopped challenging yourself to learn? Reclaim this desire because you need it in so many contexts. The thrill, the vibrancy of learning something new that gives back to you, incomparable. It's the fundamental vitality in a good life. You need it now, you need it for this, but you need it for a lot of other things too. You need to carry this vitality, curiosity, intensity, and will into a whole host of other challenges that will make your life so much better. And the key here is it's not an accumulation of challenge. The challenge is to love learning enough to channel your will into discipline to learn. Once you get the bug as an adult that you can reclaim this, you're reclaiming the spirit of youthfulness that is essential to being a divine presence in your body. And then now you just start to apply it. What else do you want to learn? What else do you want to learn? You want to learn the grounding flower? Get that next. You want to learn the empowering flower? Get that next. But it's not 1, then 2, then 3 times as hard. It's get discipline into working with the chakras every day. Everything else is just like, please bring more. Give it 1 month. Give it 1 month. We have a vitality challenge on Wild Chakra Yoga. The goal is to do 3-day cycles. You do 6 chakras one day, 6 chakras the next day, and the 3rd day you do 12 chakras, but loose. So you're giving yourself complete permission to make choices about how you use them. Doesn't have to make complete sense now. We'll give you a simple version so you could just do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then take a day off. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, take a day off. Monday, do this. Thursday, do this. Tuesday, Friday, Wednesday, Saturday. Do the same things. Take Sunday off. Get this in 4 times. 4 times. 1 month of 4 weeks like this, it won't be hard anymore. You'll want it. And if you don't know what to do or it doesn't work quite right, join the sanctuary. Ask us questions. Most of the people in the sanctuary are good at this by now, working with the key ring in particular. And we're shifted into this, bring up your strength. Because to match what's in the world, you got to bring strength into here. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, the intensities in the world are increasing. Meet them. Practice to build your strength. So whatever happens in the face of uncertainty, you have these capacities within you. It's so clear and practical, and yet people don't do it. When COVID started, I was so excited because people were going to come in droves to get healthy. They didn't do that. They fought over fucking vaccines and masks. But where was the mass movement to get healthy? If you're healthy, you have a greater capacity to fight off disease. If you're healthy, you have a greater capacity to keep your cool in the face of threat. If you're healthy, you have the endurance to make it through times when the grid might go down, times when you have to walk great distances because the roads are blocked. If you're healthy, everything that you face becomes more manageable. So if you're scared now, and if you're not scared now, who are you? Where are you? If you're not feeling any fear in the face of all these changes, you're irrational. It's not healthy. So feel a little bit of that fear. Use it to get healthy. Prepare yourself. Get stronger. We know how. Visit Wild Chakra Yoga. Get it into your life. Join the sanctuary. Come deeper. We're going to connect soon to do lightning sessions in the sanctuary. Till then, I love you. Oh, boy. I'm missing something. Let's just leave it in our heart.